In today's video, we're talking about an alternative way to grow vegetables in our hydroponic greenhouse. We're right in the middle of summer to fall changeover, so all the plants are out. Everything is getting ready to go in, all of our brassicas. And today I want to walk you through the greenhouse and just kind of show you the way our greenhouse is set up and the way we grow food in it. Hey, I'm Steve and welcome to Prepared to Live. Today we're going to be going through our hydroponic greenhouse and how it's set up and how our Dutch bucket system functions. Going to go through each one of the individual pieces, how the drain system works, how the feed system works, and we're going to give you some math on nutrients and all of those things in this video. So let's get started kind of right at the source of how the hydroponic system works, and that's our reservoir. Basically what we have is a 100-gallon Rubbermaid reservoir. Most people use them for cattle troughs and things like that, but it works great as our reservoir system. And then inside the reservoir we have an 1,110-gallon pump that feeds the system, and it feeds the system through this feed line that goes all the way around the greenhouse. So our greenhouse is laid out a little different, and we use one pump to feed everything. So we have four rows. We have a row there, a double row in the center, and then one on the outside. So this center has one feed line that goes through, and it feeds off each side, and then that side feeds from the rear, just like the side we just saw. Each drip line, which each feed coming off of our main line is a drip line. It has a 2-gallon per hour drip emitter. Now, it is necessary for you to use the drip emitters. If you don't use the drip emitters, you won't have enough pressure to back up to feed all of the buckets. These little drip emitters are what allows each bucket to regulate the amount of water that it gets. So what will happen is the end of your line won't get water if you're not using drip emitters all the way through. The return line, or the drain line, is a 1.5-inch PVC pipe with holes drilled in, and then these Dutch buckets actually have a little nipple that fits down into that hole, and then this returns the water all the way around back to the reservoir from each part of the greenhouse. So this just recycles over and over and over again. These buckets are designed with a small reservoir on the inside of them, about 1.5 inches deep. So pretty much all the time the nutrient solution fills up and stays in this reservoir for the plants to feed on, even if the pump is not running. And then this siphon fits in the hole to keep everything from just siphoning itself out if there was a failure. So that way the plants always have nutrients in case of a pump failure or if something like that happens. So it's kind of a fail-safe. A hydroponic system is a more set it and forget it system, but nothing in gardening is completely like that. So you're going to have to keep monitoring. And one of the things that will happen is these drip emitters do get clogged, and you have to replace these drip emitters. The way you know that is you can walk around and check, or after a while you just know what the plants look like when they're not getting nutrients, and you can catch it just right after that drip begins to stop because the emitter is clogged up. Sometimes you can unclog the emitter, but I always keep a lot of these on hand. As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave a link down in the show notes to every single one of these things that I'm talking about today. They're affiliate links, so we get a small commission if you purchase from that, but it's not going to cost you any more. Now, our nutrients don't flow 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We use just a simple electric timer to turn on and off the pump. And we just regulate that based on what the plants need. So in the heat of summer, we increase the amount of nutrients that they get. In the winter time, we slow that down. So we just adjust it to what the plants need. But pretty much we run in 15-minute intervals, and then we add how many 15-minute intervals we run throughout the day. So for instance, right now, when we start our brassicas, it's going to run at 8, 11, 3, and 7 for 15 minutes. But remember, it's got that reservoir that's already full of nutrient solution, so it always has that to draw from, and then the fresh nutrients run over the roots and powers the growth. Here's a look at just the simple timer that we use. It's nothing fancy, just a basic timer ordered off of Amazon. And we also keep these in spare also, just in case one goes out. When you install your system, make sure that at the end of each line you put a clean out valve. We think that our systems are going to run clean and there's never going to be any debris, but that's just simply not a reality. You're going to get perlite, you're going to get dirt, you're going to get root particles that are going to make their way into the system, and they will clog up those emitters if you don't have a relief or a clean out valve on the end of each feed line. If you're going to run a successful hydroponic system, your nutrients are key. And we've tried several different nutrient formulas, but the one that we found the best, that's never let us down, is by far Master Blend. Master Blend creates great growth, facilitates vegetation and root development, as well as fruiting. Now, there's a 3-part system, and we're going to get into that in the studio in just a moment. We're going to go through the math on how all of that works. The people that have eaten the produce out of this greenhouse say that they're the most delicious tomatoes they've ever eaten. The cabbage just has an amazing taste and texture to it. Our okra grew 7 feet tall. Our tomatoes were, I don't know, they went to the top of the greenhouse and then doubled back down. Master Blend is a powerful nutrient, and it's relatively affordable compared to a lot of the fertilizers that you have to deal with in agriculture. Of course, in hydroponics, there's no soil involved, so there is no dirt. So the grow medium that we choose to use is perlite. Perlite is basically a superheated rock that expands and takes on the texture of kind of like styrofoam. It's very porous, so it holds the beneficial bacteria and nutrients so that the plants have something to eat from. So we've jumped into the studio to do a little math, and we're going to jump right back out into the greenhouse and finish up the video. So first of all, let's talk about sizing our pump for our system. The way we size our pump is we're going to take the number of drip emitters. In our case, some of our Dutch buckets have more than one emitter. And the reason we do that is because we have some buckets that we grow multiple plants in. Like the buckets that we consistently grow beans in have multiple emitters because we plant 5 to 6 beans in each bucket. So we're going to take the number of emitters or the number of drip lines that we have, and we're going to multiply that by the output of the emitter. So in our case, we have 108 drip emitters, and each one of those drip emitters emits 2 gallons per hour. So we're going to multiply 108 times 2 gallons. It's going to give us 216 gallons per hour that we're going to need to provide. So we need to size our pump so that we're getting that at a minimum, but we also have some rise in elevation. So inside your pump, it's going to give you a chart based on the rise or the lift of your pump. And it's going to diminish the output based on the footage of lift that you have on your pump. So you just need to use that scale and make sure that you have enough water going through your system. And we try to have at least twice as much water going through our system as is required to run each emitter. So that's how we size our pump. Now let's jump over into the Master Blend nutrient, and let's talk about the math on that to make sure that we get the right ratio of our nutrient going into our buckets to power our plants. So these measurements are based on 5 gallons. So we multiply this by 20 for our 100-gallon reservoir. So for every 5 gallons of water, and we use collected rainwater, it's what we use in our greenhouse. For every 5 gallons of water, you're going to put 12 grams of the Master Blend into your bucket. Then you're going to put 6 grams of Epsom salt into the bucket. Then you're going to put 12 grams of calcium nitrate into the bucket. And you're going to mix that together, and that's going to give you 5 gallons of solution. The Master Blend that you're going to use is going to be the 4-18-38 tomato and vegetable formula. Any water-soluble calcium nitrate will work, and any Epsom salt will work. So based on those ratios, you measure the reservoir that you have, and then you do that calculation based on those 5 gallons, and you can scale it up or down however you need to do it based on your system. So now that we've done the basic math on sizing our filter and also on our master blend and how we mix that, let's jump back out into the greenhouse and finish the video. If you like this kind of content and you haven't already subscribed, subscribe and ring that notification bell. Also, give us a thumbs up. If you want to see more greenhouse content, let us know that in the comments, because there's several other aspects of our greenhouse that we're not covering in this video. We want to make content that you enjoy, so let us know if you would like to see the rest of the greenhouse, how our seed starting system is, our greens table, and all of those kind of things. So we'd love to show you that if it's something you're interested in. The reason we grow our own food is we want to be as self-sufficient as possible. This hydroponic greenhouse allows us to start growing earlier and grow later. As a matter of fact, we have something in here year-round. Now, sunlight is what really affects how much you can grow and when you can grow. And once you get less than 10 hours of sunlight in a day, regardless of the temperature outside, you're not going to be able to grow. Plants won't mature in less than 10 hours of sunlight. But things will stay alive, which allows us to get a very early harvest in the spring and get a very late harvest in the fall or even into the winter time. Our brassicas will be harvesting right around Christmas time and then replanting as soon as we pull those things out, so that we have a very early harvest next spring. This makes self-sufficiency much more achievable because we're always able to grow something. On our greens table, we have greens that grow year-round. We're always planting something. We're always starting something. We have microgreens that go year-round. If you're serious about self-sufficiency, a greenhouse, especially hydroponics, is something that you should really look into, because it gives you the availability of food year-round, and you don't spend as much time weeding and doing those kind of things. Once it's set up, there's very little maintenance. If you enjoyed today's content, you're going to enjoy this video too, about the 5 most important survival crops that you can plant. Just remember, guys, until next time, we're just growing and learning.